Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining us today. I have an interesting topic that I would like to discuss today. So Gabriel's been talking a lot about the importance of getting really clear about what it is that you want. Taking the time to get to know yourself again. What are your truest desires? If you didn't know anyone in the world, what would you do? If there was no fear of judgment or failure, what would you do? So these are the types of questions that he's been encouraging us to ask. And so this week, he has been talking a lot about how we should never settle. And so I started thinking about that. I started thinking about settling. And he says that when you settle, you are already choosing to stay in energies that are already expired. So it got me thinking, what is the difference between settling and compromise? That is the topic I'm going to be discussing today with my producer and friend, Cottonwood Stone. Hi, Cottonwood. How are you today?
I'm good. It's good to be here. How are you?
Oh, I'm awesome. Thank you. So I'm curious, how do you feel about settling or compromise? Do you think they're different? Do you think they're the same? Do you love them, hate them? I can't wait to hear it.
And it's funny because they both are trigger words for me. So I don't know if anyone else has that same thing. And I immediately go to relationships, which I know settling and compromise can be many things, but that's right where my mind went. I'm like, no. And immediately I go into attack mode in my mind. I'm like, I'm done settling. I'm done compromising because as a former or maybe always recovered codependent, I like to used to call myself the queen of codependency. That those characteristics are always in the front, and I'm always aware of them. And so, for me, anytime I'm settling or compromising or feeling like I'm doing that, I just it it it, it just doesn't work. It makes me angry because I feel like I'm always the one doing that. Now, it could be true. The other person could feel that they're the one always doing it too.
Right.
So how would you define those two words and how they would fit into relationships and more than that, actually?
Well, I think settling is choosing to stay the same when you have an awareness that there might be something bigger or better for you. And so why do we do that? Well, we do it because change is the big scary thing. Especially right now, so many of us feel like we're about to expand into change, but we don't know exactly what that means. We feel it coming. We know it's time, but we don't know what it looks like. And that can feel scary. So that kind of gets us back to the devil that you know. Sometimes it's easier for us to just kind of stay with the devil that you know. So I think settling is really selling yourself short because you have a fear or perhaps want to please people. You don't want to rock the boat. A lot of us as empaths don't want to rock the boat. So I think that there's a lot of that that goes on. So as I was sitting here feeling into what's the difference, Gabriel kind of piped up and said that compromise is finding a middle ground where all people can feel satisfied and honored. So he said a surefire way of knowing whether you've been settling or not is whether you feel resentment. And I thought that is a very interesting thing. So I would like to point out to you, Cottonwood, that you and I compromised many times today over when we were going to get together and our schedule. And we ended up compromising to connecting right now. And
Yeah.
I think we both worked on it until we found something that really worked for both of us. And we were very considerate of each other and our needs. And or how tired we might be and all of that. So that's a really good example of compromise that didn't feel hard for you.
No, not at all. Not at all.
Had I insisted on doing it at a time that you were busy, you might have said yes, but then you would have been resentful.
That's a very good example. Yeah.
So I think compromise is almost like boundaries. It's trying to find that connecting point that is empowering, and people can walk away feeling satisfied with it. They can feel good about it. You're not walking away with that ooh in your stomach going, oh, I should have stood up for myself or anything like that. So does that change how you feel about it? Or perhaps were you thinking that your compromise, now maybe with this new way of looking at it, maybe you realize it was settling all along? Could that be?
It could be. Yeah. Yeah. I would say settling and not standing up for my own boundaries,
Yes.
or a middle point of mine and whatever the other situation is, and giving into that because whatever reason might be. Yeah.
Gabriel gave me a bit of an analogy today, as he loves to do. And he said that if there was a giant pile of food that you were going to need to divide up amongst a bunch of people,
Mhm.
compromise would be finding food that everyone might enjoy and making sure that everyone's needs were met according to allergies or where they were, if they're growing or, have special needs. That would be compromise, making sure that everybody's needs are met. Where settling might be, you all take the yummy food and I'll just live off this bowl of rice. And he said, do you think the people that are enjoying the delicious food are even thinking about you as they're enjoying the delicious food?
Probably not, huh?
Right. So I think compromise is a healthy thing as we move into unity consciousness, and we want to make sure sometimes it feels good and heart expansive to give, but we don't ever want to give until the point that we're really out of balance and not fair with ourselves. And I think being very aware of ways that we might be settling, it's a really good time to become aware of that right now so that we can create the lives the big, beautiful lives that our soul is trying to lead us into in this next phase of the new. So does that make you feel any better about it?
Yes, yes. It's a
Compromise
big
is
difference.
fair, settling is not, would be another way of looking at it. It's not fair to anyone really when we settle, because while we might feel that we're being very good for doing it, ultimately we're not going to be able to stay in that energy anyways, because it's expired energy. We know that.
Mhm. Yeah.
And so what's going to happen is we're going to get really uncomfortable. We're probably going to get reactive and triggery and blow up and then feel bad about that. And we're not going to be able to stay in that space anyways, which just means that we're prolonging the inevitable, which is we're going to have to move anyway.
Stretching it out as long as we can because we're good at that.
Exactly. So I would love to hear everyone's ideas about settling and compromise. How do they make you feel? Do you think they're the same or different? If you are aware that you're settling, it might be helpful to ask yourself, why am I doing it? What am I afraid of? And I hope that this will bring everyone clarity as we try and move forward into having really big, beautiful lives. I can't wait to hear what you have to say about this. Please drop your comments in the comment section below, and I look forward to seeing you next time. Bye-bye.